Hey, Canadian mortgage brokers, are you interested in finding out how you can help Canadians buy real estate in the US, buy investment property in particular? You're going to want to have a listen to this episode. Hey, I'm Scott Peckford. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast, where every week we create content for you, our listeners, to help you scale your mortgage business. And this week I've got Meyer and Ronen from MBank on, and we're talking about a program they put together to help Canadian brokers basically get paid to help have mortgages funded for Canadian, what they call a foreign national buyer program for investment properties. This is a really cool program. And since they kind of piloted a little bit, we partnered with them through Out of Mortgage Brokering so that you can get paid on these as well. So if you want to have a listen to this episode, and then at the very end, I'll share with you how you can get set up and get paid on this whole program. I think you're going to totally dig it. Before I jump into that, though, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Ownwell. Ownwell is a really cool tool for Canadian mortgage brokers that allows you to put your clients' information in there. It monitors the borrower's their home equity as well as their buying power on a monthly basis. And these emails get a 60 to 80% open rate because it's about the client and their situation, and it creates a ton of conversations for the mortgage broker. And what we've seen recently is OML has now expanded into allowing you to adopt databases from real estate agents and financial planners, and it's helping mortgage brokers scale rapidly. You want to check them out at oml.ca and have a listen to this episode. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for
Hey, how
having
are
us.
you? Thank you for having us.
So I'm excited to chat with you, Meyer and Ronen from MBank. And one of the cool things you guys have come up with is this ability for Canadians to help basically Canadian buyers buying investment property in the US, which we're going to jump into in this episode. But before we do that, Meyer, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into this and MBank?
Sure, absolutely. So, I grew up in New York and been in the banking business for over 25 years about. And I started when I was like 16. A friend of mine was working at a bank, and he's like, you should come join whatever. And these people are making money. So I started processing loans and getting in on that side, and eventually went into a little bit of underwriting. And then I see all these guys who are making all this money, and they had no idea. They were clueless. They didn't know how to structure a loan. They didn't know how to do anything. And I was like, I could do this. So I went to the owner of the company and I said to him, listen, I want to do this. And he said, all right, go ahead, go out on the street and start getting business. So what do you mean? He's like, go talk to people, go to realtors and do whatever you have to do. And 25 years later, this is where we're at. And
You're still
my
doing it.
wife,
Well,
I'm
I
still
got to ask a
doing
question
it.
about that. How did you get your first loan? So you knew how to underwrite loans, but what was the thing? This was a while ago. What was how did you, do you remember?
Yeah, I walked into, I'll never forget, I was in not the best part of Brooklyn. It was Flatbush back then, 25 years ago. It wasn't like it is now. And I walk into a realtor's office and the guy's like, what do you want? Like, no hi, no nothing. What do you want? I'm
Not
like,
much has changed.
yeah, I'm like, listen, I'm a mortgage banker. I can do loans that most people can't do. I'm aggressive at what I do. And I'm like, do you have anything that you have a problem with? He's like, you know what? I just got denied this loan. Can you do it? And I walked in there and started looking at the loan. No one could do it, but it just gave me that opportunity, that window. And then I would just keep going back. And after a couple of days, I walked in and a buyer had just been sitting there, and I just got the deal right there with the buyer. So it was pretty cool. I mean, it was surreal when you think about it. 25 years ago, it still sustained my family, and I'm still doing it and loving every minute of it. So,
Okay, so when did MBank become, and then Ronen, so what's your role at MBank? And then I'm going to come back to Meyer, and then maybe introduce yourself, Ronen, and then I'll come back and find out about when MBank started and how that got going.
So, our partnership with MBank is like, just a really unique story. So we originally met, from our girls figure skating together. I'm a Canadian that moved down a little over 2 years ago. I was in the real estate space in Canada. I used to own a real estate brokerage. I was acquired by a larger franchise, and my brokerage ran with everything in house, from banking, mortgage banking, and legal. And then fast forward to me moving down here, I realized that there is this massive void for foreign national loans. And the service level, that the expectation for a Canadian was non-existent. And then I started searching out and looking for banks that specialize in foreign national loans, and it was right under my nose. Meyer and I kind of shook hands one day, started talking about what we do, and he's like, "No way, this is what you do as well." And we created this unique product suite that is specific and catered exclusively to the Canadian market, which was lacking, didn't exist, didn't understand the psychology, didn't understand the tax implications, didn't understand any of that stuff, because most of the foreign national loan portfolio in um, in the United States is catered towards everyone but Canada.
Mhm.
It's like an overlooked
Well, we don't
market
want to talk
segment.
about the trade war that's happening right now, but I mean
Well,
to me that's just a leadership thing that's going on. I think this is we've got I think it'll get itself sorted in time. But anyway, it's yeah
it's just a lot of posturing and, the
yeah
art of the deal at its finest. But I mean, Canada and the United States and even Mexico will forever be intertwined via border, and there aren't two jurisdictions that are more similar to each other than Canada and the United States. And we'll find a way to work this out. Every
yeah
marriage has its own problems.
yeah.
You
We're just
work it
going through
out.
a rough patch in the marriage right now. That's a good way to
That's
think of
right.
it.
That's
That's
right.
where you need therapy. This is where therapy is coming into play right
Therapy.
now.
Yeah, I think there could be some people that need therapy that are involved in this whole thing for sure. Whether or not they've
There's
listened.
no there's no doubt.
Sorry. Okay, so yeah, you basically saw this gap in the marketplace where it was like, hey, Canadian foreign nationals were not being serviced, and then that's where this whole
And that's
idea
where
came
we
from.
joined forces, right? And then we piloted this, thinking, there's the appetite's there. Originally, I was sort of like explaining it to MBank and Meyer and saying, look, this is a void that I think needs to be filled. And we piloted this thing, grossly underestimating the demand. And
Mm-hmm.
then as we started to become a little more granular with it, we started adding a lot more to the client experience in the form of the concierge service that people are marketing out there and charging an arm and a leg for. Because whether you're moving, you're a snowbird, you're looking for the investment, purely a cash flow investor, there's a lot of nuanced things that you don't know about, from tax implications to foreign exchange. And we put that all as a free service just to streamline the entire client experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went out to the mortgage brokerage world, and it just took fire.
Right. I absolutely love that. So, okay, that's fantastic. And then, so Meyer, how did you get connected with MBank, or to walk me through that part?
Yeah. So MBank was established in 2005, and my wife and I left New York in 2013. We were semi-retired. We had done very well when the market crashed in 2008. There was a lot of upset change, and I had to transition and pivot. So I shut down one of my shops that we had, and my wife, being an underwriter at that time, we were starting to buy assets from different banks who got their loans stuck on the warehouse lines, and we'd fix them and then we'd sell them back to the credit agencies, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, as such. And from 2008 to 2013, we had an amazing run. I mean, amazing. And then we said, okay, let's cool down and let's just relax. So we moved to California, and wanted to buy a property. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to Chase because I bank with them, and go to my banker, Chase. And Chase says to me, well, Meyer, you don't qualify. You don't make money. I said to him,
But
I said, how can you say?
you have tons of cash sitting in the bank probably from
Yeah,
your
I
business.
said to him, I
Yeah.
said, you can't say I don't make money because I'm a private banking client, whatever that means, whatever. But I said, yeah, I have 6 companies and they flow to each other, so I don't show taxes. So they said, well, you have 2 options. I said, great. What are they? He said, you can amend your taxes and pay all this amount of money in taxes, or you can wait 2 years. So I said, you really didn't give me any options. So I said, you know what? I have to seek out something that's going to make a difference, that's going to be, plausible for people that are in my scenario. And I ended up buying Mortgage Bank of California, MBank, in 2015. And at that time, it was just a shell with 1 license. Now we're licensed in 22 states, can lend in 42 states, and we focus exclusively on non-QM. That's alternative documentation, bank statements, cash flow loans, foreign nationals, anything that is not your traditional norm. That's what we focus on. And we've been doing it since 2015 and loving every minute of it.
Do you ever remember those commercials, the Remington microshave guy? I liked it so much I bought the company. That sounds like what you did. You're like, hey, they wouldn't give me a loan, so I went and I bought the company. Like, I love that.
I was so frustrated, and like being in the business for so long, this was back in the day, this was alt A. This was, it's not rocket science what we're doing, and when we first started doing loans, everyone attacked me, social media. You're worse than those people in 2008. How could you be doing this? Until the education piece came in and people understand it's not like we're doing stated income where if you had a heartbeat, you would get a mortgage. I mean, in 2008, It was 7. It was crazy in the United States. If you had a heartbeat, you would get a loan. Here, it's qualified that people have to have a business, they have to have cash flow. We qualify the asset. They're putting money into the transaction. So it's very different now, the market here, than it was before.
Right. Okay. So you ended up with the company, then you guys connected, and now you put together and you piloted this whole loan program. Maybe walk me through. So if somebody's listening to this, you're a mortgage broker in Canada, you got clients that want to buy investment property in the US. Walk me through what the process looks like. And we've actually got we've got a link. So through Island Mortgage Broker, we've got a way for you guys to connect with them if you guys want to get to basically be able to do these loans. But walk me through how it works, maybe, Ronen, and then that way we can explain it.
Right. So originally it was very fragmented, where if a mortgage broker had a client that was looking to purchase in the United States and they're refinancing their own debt in order to come up with the down payment or to buy it solely in cash, which used to be a common phenomenon way back when, they didn't know where to go. So they were kind of out on their own and trying to find solutions. And like Myers' scenario, like there's only 4 Schedule A banks that are actually in the foreign national loan space, and they don't qualify based on they qualify you based on income and not based on the equity in the deal. So then we recognize that there was a massive void, and people didn't know where to go. And what we've done is we've taken all of that and put it under one roof. And like through the link that you mentioned, it's like you're basically sending over a name and a number, and we take over the rest. It's a Canadian partnered with MBank, understands the psychology, understands the ideology, understands the requirements, and you're no longer fumbling and looking for options. I can't tell you how many clients we get that for lack of knowledge, didn't know any better, got stuck into these predatory loans. I mean, Meyer and I just did one right now for a gentleman, and he was paying something in like the 12 to 13% range, paid the quarterly in advance, interest only. Like they just didn't know. So if they got stuck, made some assumptions and needed to close quickly, I mean, now it's about the education piece. Now it's about getting out there and saying, there's a product out there for you. And by the way, like when you hear about rates, like everyone's thinking that there's double digit rates. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Right. Yeah. And so there's kind of 2 opportunities here with this. So if you've got Canadians that want to buy investment properties, you guys can help. But also if they have investment properties, you guys can refi them. So some people are sitting on a lot of equity from, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so they're pulling out equity from their investment properties they already have, either to buy more or for whatever purpose you guys can help.
So here's the coolest part of all this is like, because where the foreign exchange is now, and you've got a lot of these snowbirds that have bought many, many moons ago, and their properties are worth 10x, and then you factor in the foreign exchange, it's more like 15x. And they're thinking, well, we're going to sell and bring the money. Yeah,
that hurts a little bit. The foreign exchange, that's as a. But hey,
it hurts one way, but it's positive the other one.
It's positive. If you own U.S. real estate and you want to pull equity and put cash from U.S. dollars into it is absolutely a smart time to do it.
Right. But what they're not understanding is the major impact they're going to have with FERPTA. That's a withholding tax, and the IRS is going to hold, I think it's about 20%, 20 or 15% of the gross sale amount. And then you're going to start negotiating. Where the smart play would be is to call MBank, refinance that property. You can use that funds for yourself, but the smartest place to refinance. We can do up to 70% refi. We can use those refinance funds as a source of down payment. And you can essentially, depending on how much you're refinancing for, you can buy 2, 3, 4 properties. We'll use those refinance funds as your LTV, your down payment, and you can buy multiple properties fully leveraged. And people just don't know that. It's the lack of education I keep
Right.
referring to that's missing, as opposed to bringing it all back, paying a whack of taxes. You can keep it and keep that going. Like an annuity.
And so the other part is, if you sell it, there's no tax on taking the money out as a loan. It's not like there's no holding.
Correct.
Right. It's only if you sell the property, and it's the capital gains that they're going after. It's not it's because it's technically a loan.
That's right. There's no taxation on debt.
Yeah. It's so there's that piece as well. So essentially the way this works is you guys are connected in 42 states. And as you said to me, the states that you're not in, Canadians aren't buying in anyway, for the most part. They're not like the states that you're going to be buying in, any of your clients will buy in. You guys would you walk through the process of, once they've, the broker fills out the form though, right? So the broker, and there's some things they need potentially, is like, there was a SSNT, like walk through some of the pieces of data that they're going to need, so that, again, people understand how that works.
Yeah. So the referral is going to take no longer than 30 seconds. There's a couple of questions. First, obviously the referring partner's name, the client's partners, whoever they're referring. Then we ask whether they have a SSN, ITIN, or none. So some people have a social security number. We've run into the situation where quite a few clients that are thinking of eventually moving into the United States on a visa get an SSN. It's better to actually start that process before you have a social security number, because building U.S. credit will take some time, generally about 3 years to really build up the credit. So as soon as you get
that social security number, now would you be able to use this program, or would you have to use one of the more traditional programs?
So you'd have to use one of the more traditional programs. Right. You're no longer a foreign national. So it's actually much more beneficial to start that in advance. And, once you're earning income, we won't get into the taxation piece. You will have to get an ITIN number if you're holding multiple assets that are generating income in the United States. But you'll let us know what's a client's, your name, client's name, what language is their preference, do they have an SSN or not, what state that they're looking to do business in. Are they going to need an accountant? Are they going to need an immigration lawyer? Are they going to need, do they have 25 or 30% down? And boom, Bob's your uncle. That'll take you about 30 seconds. And MBank has an entire streamlined process to capture that lead, speak to that client. That first conversation is usually extremely exploratory. And understanding the psychology of a Canadian is really important here, because when a Canadian thinks of a mortgage product, they're thinking of 25, 30, maybe sometimes 35-year AMs locked into 3 to 5 year terms, where the rates are significantly different. Where the U.S. product is a 30-year AM, and that rate is locked for 30 years. Right. So there is a kind of sticker shock of where people look at the rate differential. But once you explain that you're not comparing an apples to apples comparison, then, you have to understand how to speak to that. You have to understand what an RSP is, or a TFSA, what the tax implications, and also understanding the reasoning of why people are doing it. Are they cash flow investors? Are they snowbirds? Are they people that are thinking of moving down? Because all of those are going to have different sort of angst. And the partners that we've partnered with, help that out. So if you're looking at moving down, well, yeah, here's an immigration lawyer that we know is vetted and can execute. You have tax implications as an investor, right? So here's a cross-border tax specialist for you. And then the hot topic today is that foreign exchange. And we've partnered with a company that has been saving people now anywhere between 70 to 75% compared to the bank for FX. So all these things we put in to enhance the client experience, and more importantly, give them access to capital.
Right. That's amazing. So Meyer, then how have you observed Canadians using this program? Like, what have you seen in the uptick in this?
So we've seen, just from the initial launch we've done, and the response has been tremendous. And for us, what I've noticed more than anything is Canadians really just want to understand. They want to know what's involved, what's the process. And for us, it turns out to be a lot of education up front, setting it up. Like, I just spoke to a client yesterday He's like, listen, I've been scammed already 3 different times. I just want to know if I can talk to someone and trust them. And he called me this morning. He's like, listen, I feel so good. I'm going to refer you to a realtor that has a client for you right now. And that was just from a simple conversation from
Mhm.
yesterday. It's just the education piece is something that's very daunting. And if you don't do it and you don't provide it, Canadians especially, they feel a lot of angst with that. Whereas like Latin Americans that come, they really don't care. It's just, you can wheel and deal and it's a different type of clientele, different type of experience.
Yeah, we have a different vibe. You know how you make a Canadian say sorry?
How's that?
You step on their foot. I'm telling you, you go into a coffee shop in Canada and you step on a Canadian's foot and they'll say, "Oh, sorry," and their foot was under yours. But I don't know. I was
Yeah.
in New York. I don't think that would happen in New York. They'd be like,
No, you'd
No,
get you'd get run over.
"Yeah,
no,
yeah, that's funny."
it's like holding the door in Canada, the good old fashioned Canadian standoff. Like who's going to hold the door for somebody the longest?
Yeah,
Right? You
so
don't get that.
you could be there for like a half an hour if you end up taking that job on, and like you just can't leave because another person comes, another one comes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's hilarious. So who's Ronen? Who's the ideal, like the brokers that you guys? So you've kind of done a pilot of this, and now you're rolling it out. What's the profile of the ideal broker that is you seem to having some success with this?
So the ideal broker is any broker really, because what it's done is given brokers an icebreaker. It's given them an opportunity and now pick up the phone and have that conversation they should be having with the client, right? Instead of saying the same old, rates have gone up, rates have gone down. Here's a new product. Hey, how's it going? Just checking in. When brokers now know that they have access into the United States, it's just been overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
If they just sat down and made 20, 30, 40 calls, say, hey, I'm not calling you about your traditional mortgage product. I want you to know that we now have access into the United States. Have you ever thought about purchasing? It's like,
Or
oh
even
my
do you,
God,
do
we
you
have
know
bought.
anybody? Do you know anybody
Yeah,
that is looking at? And then if it's them, they're going to say, "Me, I've been thinking about it." Right? Like that's the
right. And
yeah.
it's such a powerful icebreaker and a reason to contact your client. And what we're finding is that people are saying, well, yeah, I already own in the United States. I just don't know what to do with it. So they have all this equity caked into that. So now the mortgage broker can monetize that. Or they're saying, yeah, we thought about it. We're not sure where to get the cash for it. Oh, wait, well, I've got all this equity left in my property. So now you're double dipping as a broker. You're refinancing the property in Canada. We can use that as a source of funds for the deal in the United States, which before, you didn't have that conversation and you didn't know what to do with those funds. And the ideal mortgage broker is anyone who's out there actually selling actively and providing a service for their client. They didn't have any reason to have that conversation. So anybody and everybody is really the target. From the client's perspective, it's generally falls into the category of like 30 to 60. It seems like a bit of a wide range, but it's really that vast. Where it used to be an older demographic, now you're seeing a lot of younger families looking to move specifically to states like Florida and Texas for a
Yeah.
variety of reasons, which I don't want to get into. But I mean,
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so and then basically the way this works is so if you guys are listening to this, I'm gonna provide a link. You can check on the show notes. You guys can directly refer to them. You get paid on those referrals, and it's a pretty slick program in my opinion. Like everything that we've seen so far working with you guys has been amazing. So I'm very excited to get more Canadian brokers to have access to this and be able to help more clients and solve help solve some cash flow problems or cash problems for some of their Canadian clients.
I appreciate this time. I mean, this has been a long time in the making. It took us a while to find a way to do this properly and launch it properly. So, like,
Where can people find you online? Like, where can maybe we'll put your emails in there as well. Does that work for you guys? I'll put your
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, my email is Ronen at MBank. It's RONEN at MABANC.com. Meyer, MAYER at MBank.com. And just check out MBank.com. And if you're a foreign national, we have a foreign national tab that you can play with through the calculator online, and connect with us that way. We also have a dedicated phone number that I don't remember off the top of my head, so I'm just going to look it up as we're doing this. It's for a Canada desk. The number is 1-888-623-2177. That's 1-888-623-2177.
Yeah, awesome. Hey man, thanks Meyer. Great to meet you guys. Or again,
Thank
not
you
just
guys
meet you,
so
but great
much.
for coming on
Appreciate it.
again. And looking forward to doing more stuff with you.
Amazing, man. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks. Take care.
Hey, thanks again for listening, and hopefully you've got some ideas from this. And the whole what we always try to do with these things is bring you things that can some of you are going to listen to this and go, "Dang, I could totally do this." So the way it works is if you click on this link, there's going to be a link for you to send a referral to them, and once that referral goes through, you get paid 40 basis points. And so the way that works is in order to make that facilitate that. They pay through our company that we pay you. So it's really slick. All you have to do is if you've got somebody that's looking to buy investment property in the US or refinance them, we can totally help you out, or they can help you out. And just use the link that we have there. You get paid 40 basis points, and when it gets funded, and the basis points are in US dollars, which right now is pretty good conversion rate. Anyways, thanks for listening. And as I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that someone else hasn't already solved. The problem for you is who's got the answer. Hopefully this podcast provides some of the answers. Oh, and one other thing, we are going to do another update webinar shortly with MBank on walking you through the entire process, and then you can actually see how that works. And so if you're listening to this episode, we will make sure to go back and put a link to that webinar once, because this episode is going to go first and the webinar is going to come later, but we'll update this episode and put a link into a webinar that breaks down the whole process in a little more detail. I just wanted to get this out to you because I thought it was such an exciting, amazing opportunity for us as Canadian mortgage brokers. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.